ultimate smartphone lens kit according to Xenvo. Let's take a look. This is an add-on for smartphones where you get a wide-angle lens and a macro lens to change your field of view magnification on your standard camera lens module. Now, you can use this with the different modules in your camera, but you will get varying results depending on how those are configured. In the box, you've got your macro piece and the wide-angle piece. This wide-angle piece will not really do much unless you have it attached to the macro piece. It comes with a little light that you can recharge and a cable for that. Nice long strap. Some of the materials are pretty thin on the strap. Case is pretty nice. It is a hard case. It comes with a little carabiner. This is a nice cloth. On the inside of the case, there is a little area to put accessories, and then you can, of course, put your actual lens in there. My original use case for this lens setup was to do IRL streaming with a phone. I wasn't able to get any of my phones that had the ultra wide camera module working with any of the apps that would do streaming. So in that case, I thought maybe I could try out an add-on lens and see if it makes the regular normal lens wider enough to make it work. Other potential use cases, you could do vlogging. You could just use it for photography if you want a wider field of view. Standard camera modules on the back of smartphones are the highest quality. They'll have the largest sensor, or you don't even have an ultra-wide camera lens module on your phone. This could be an interesting option for you. I did do a few quick tests with the macro to see if it worked out. You can see that on screen. Decide for yourself if there is any difference. Now, my specific phone that I did use most of the time does have its own super macro camera module, so I'd probably tend to use that instead of using this add-on lens, but it really depends on what you want to do. On the wide angle piece of this lens, it does have a 52mm filter thread. It's standard, so any type of filter will work. In this case, I've got a UV filter that I can put on there. You could use an ND filter, you could use polarizing filters, whatever you want. Build quality feels very good on the lens pieces. They are fully metal with actual glass, so quality-wise, I don't see any issue with it. The plastic clamp mount feels pretty solid, has rubberized material on the inside that grips to your phone, so it doesn't slide around too much. The included light works pretty well. You're just gonna most likely clamp it to your phone and turn it on. It has 3 different levels of brightness, which, yeah, not too bad. So if I wanted to go full vlogging mode using the front screen, according to a quick test with the light and the add-on lens using the selfie camera, I can turn the light off and see if that makes a difference. Again, we've got the different levels of brightness. And then I can also take the add-on lens off. That definitely made the difference. If you are into vlogging, I think this could be a pretty nice setup. It is heavy, but yeah, you do get some additional light, get a wider field of view on that selfie screen. The light is micro USB, so that's a little bit of a hassle these days with USB-C around, but it's not a huge issue. As a little accessory, not too bad. The lens set does what it says it's going to do. You're going to get a wider field of view and the macro mode. For the wide field of view, it does make a difference. Most of my comparisons are with a phone that has a 1/2 inch type sensor. This sensor has a 5.41x crop factor, full frame focal length equivalent of 25.5 millimeters approximately. I didn't have any vignetting when it was directly attached to the camera, but using any type of case is not going to work with this add-on. You will get vignetting on the corners. On a Moto G Stylus 5G phone, even with a thin case that I had on there, I was still seeing some vignetting. Chances are, if you do use a case, this is probably going to be somewhat of a hassle to use. Using the standard normal lens on your phone, you will get a noticeably wider field of view with this add-on lens, so that's the main benefit, at least to me. I did try this lens on my ultra-wide camera module, and it basically turns into a fishbowl security camera look. But the funny thing is that I do get the widest possible view, but some of the image is wasted. It's an interesting creative choice potentially if you wanted to use that with an ultra-wide module, but just know it's not going to give you a super ultra-wide and use everything. You're just going to get a lot of vignetting. Comparing the standard normal camera lens module with the add-on plus the ultra-wide on my phone, I did see some interesting differences. Given that the standard module on my phone is higher quality, has a larger sensor, more megapixels, actually with the add-on I'm getting more quality in detail compared to the ultra-wide on my phone. So if you really want higher detail at least in the center of the frame, you can potentially get that using that standard module instead of any built-in ultra-wide, depending on the quality of what you have in your phone. But generally, additional modules will be lower megapixel, smaller sensor like that with the ultra-wides. So that's a unique little interesting potential benefit for photography, things like that. Now on the corners of the frame, I still think the ultra-wide built-in module looks better. It's more straight, more rectilinear compared to the add-on plus the standard module in the phone. So you will kind of get a mix of good and bad. Onto the negatives is going to be related to this thing is pretty heavy. If you do vlogging with this, you could potentially have some issues with the weight. It might shift around, just things to consider. The clamp works decently well, but it's going to block some of the screen either direction. So know that some places will be difficult to access. Depending on your phone, it could block buttons in the back. I have some older phones that I tried just to see the placement, and it did block quite a bit. But the main thing is that the screen, you're going to lose some functionality doing that. You can, of course, take it off if you need to, but know that that just is not a perfect solution unless you could build a custom case for this, which is possible. You could just look at the thread size and make a 3D printed case potentially. But yeah, that would be a whole project onto itself. Even with the rubber on the interior, you do have some potential to bump it and shift it around in just a tiny bit of movement, depending on how large your main camera module is, might show up in vignetting on the sides. And like I said, cases really don't work with this as far as I can tell. But if you built a custom case, maybe you'd have a better shot at making it work without vignetting. I don't know if it was really necessary to include the accessories. The light is cool, but it has a built-in battery, so it's probably going to have a lifespan to it. I think I would have preferred just to pay less. All that said, is it worth checking out? Really depends on what you want. If you want something creative to do with your smartphone, I mean, it's not a bad accessory. It functions. The build quality is decent. Optically, it looks fine to me, and you do get some benefits compared to even built-in modules, but it is fiddly. The clamp mount has a lot of negatives to it. There really isn't much of a way around it, like I said, unless you want to custom build a smartphone case. I wouldn't say this is the ultimate smartphone lens kit, but it is pretty decent. I also look at the Xenvo wide plus macro lens kit for smartphones. I purchased this. It was not sent to me. I've just had it for a long time, haven't done too much with it, but now I'm finally making a video. Hope you enjoyed it. Scott of Photography Bonsai, thanks.